Hey everybody, welcome back. I am Jim, and I am back on my channel, ready to talk about some writer stuff, writing and publishing, writer resources is what I thought we would talk about right now. And I am going to go into this video with the assumption that you are writing, and this ties into the why video that I did previously, so go check that out if you haven't already. But I'm going to provide you a bunch of resources here, and I'm going to assume that you are a writer who is pursuing writing as some form of business. You're looking to write, you're looking to publish, and you're looking to do something with that. These writing resources are geared more slightly toward the professional-minded writer, as opposed to the writer who's just like, writing a blog, writing a journal, writing whatever your why is. I don't know. I hope you tell me though. I hope you share some comments below and tell me a little bit about what your why is. But this is all about writing resources, and these are writing resources that I've just accumulated over the decades of writing and publishing and being involved in the industry, and getting a sense of it. This one is also slightly focused more. Well, it's not slightly; it's entirely focused more on fiction writing than on like RPGs. I'll probably do separate videos on RPG publishing, RPG industry, etc. But because me personally, as of right now, November 2025, I'm trying to get back into my fiction writing, and really trying to really refocus on that, in addition to doing the tabletop RPG writing that I'm doing. And I really want to get back to fiction, so I thought I'd focus this bit more on fiction. Of course, there is some crossover if you are doing tabletop RPGs writing or game writing of some other form, and you're also doing fiction or nonfiction. Most of these resources are going to be, there's a lot of crossover, because writing is writing. Whether you're writing a fiction book or a nonfiction game manual, there are still some common things that you're going to want to know. But for the purposes of this particular video, I'm going to focus more on fiction writing and publishing, and helping you get into the writing publishing mindset as a business, getting into the whole industry thing. This list is by no means comprehensive. It's by no means authoritative. I mean, who am I, right? I'm a writer like a lot of you. I think some people who like to focus on the categories and like to put people into buckets might say maybe I'm a mid-list minded writer. I think it's a label. I don't care for it. I don't think people should be labeling themselves as, I'm a mid-list writer, blah blah blah, or I'm a best-selling writer, blah blah blah. It's like, you're a writer, right? Write your stuff, do your thing, publish, have fun. Don't dwell on what other people are saying about themselves or what they're saying about you. Just you be you. Do your own thing, and be happy, and be joyful. And if you're not being joyful, then find something else to do that does make you joyful, because that's the whole point, is to be joyful. Anyway. Writing resources. Again, this is not scripted, so I'm just going to do this completely off the top of my dome, in as much as I can remember. Yeah. Okay. So, writing resources. Let's start with books, because of course books is what it's all about, right? So, absolutely the number one. And I got my Scrivener window open here, and I'm going to just write this down. Books. First on the list, fiction and nonfiction. Like, whatever you are writing. Are you writing fiction? Are you writing nonfiction? Are you writing both? Are you writing poetry? Poetry, I should put in poetry here too, because poetry is the thing. Or maybe it's screenplays, or maybe it's stage plays, or maybe it's one-act plays, or maybe it's something else. Like, whatever you are writing, in my opinion, for whatever that's worth to you, you should be reading that thing. If you're writing fiction, you should be reading fiction. If you're writing nonfiction, you should be reading nonfiction. If you're writing poetry, you should be reading poetry. If only because of the joy of reading and learning new stories and learning new things, and experiencing what's out there. But it's also a great way to see what your peers, past and present, are doing or have done, and maybe you'll pick up some styles, or you pick up some tips and tricks and techniques. And you'll read something and go, oh wow, how they do that? And you read, like, how did that writer go from one point of view to another point of view, into another point of view in the same scene, and make it look seamless without you even realizing you were head hopping, without it feeling like head hopping. That's a technique. That's something you can learn, and that's something you can only really learn by seeing how other people do it. right? You can sit and just, bang on the keyboard, and if you're not ingesting stuff, you're not learning necessarily. And so learning is reading. Read lots. Read lots. Read inside your genre, read outside your genre, read stuff that you don't normally write. I don't write a lot of stage plays anymore, but I read a lot of stage plays. And if there's anything that stage plays taught me, it's that stage plays are really, really good at teaching dialogue. Like if you feel like you have a deficiency in convincingly writing characters that talk and convey information through that talking, through that dialogue, stage plays probably one of the best ways to do that. I think screenplays also pretty good, but screenplays are kind of a different beast from stage plays. Stage plays are really, really more focused on character and dialogue. Anyway, so read lots and lots and lots. And I'm going to be controversial, depending on what worlds you live in. and it's like I know there's a whole school of thought from some writers that are like, oh, I don't need to read. I just want to write. I don't buy it. I think you got to read. You got to read. You got to be always be reading, always be writing. And as a writer, you've got to think about your why. Like, why are you writing? And then you got to think about your time, right? You got to think about how you're going to divide up your time in your day, so that you can do everything you want to do, in addition to reading and filling your creative brain with stuff, story, whether you're watching TV or reading or whatever. But this is the written word, so we want to be writing. So read, but also have time to write, because obviously, if you want to be a writer and think about your why, you got to write. There's no way around it. You got to write. Anyway, all that being said, there are tons of resources. There are tons of books out there, and one of the things I will suggest is Writer's Digest books. Writer's Digest as an entity has been around for a very long time, and they, large part of their business is writing and publishing and making books, all about writing. So writing, editing, publishing, etc., etc. They have an amazing number of titles, all kinds of series. I can't recommend one over another. There have been some very good ones over the years. There have been some that I have found less valuable, but I always try to read as many craft books as I can, whether I'm getting them from the library or whatever, buying them or getting them through ebooks or something. There's always nuggets of gold in there, and I think if you read enough craft books over time, you'll start to see that the amount of stuff you're learning from any given craft book is less than what it could have been, but you're still going to find nuggets of gold, and you're highlighting those, or you're pulling them out of there or whatever. There's always something valuable to read in any craft book, and I think it's important to do that, because you never know when the next shot of inspiration might come from. You might read a 300-page craft book, and maybe 99% of it, but you know what, that 1% that you didn't know, that you pull from it, maybe that's enough to get you sparked and writing on your next thing, right? Maybe. Who knows? It's hard to say. But anyway, over all the years of me writing and publishing, I've read at least a couple hundred craft books. I couldn't even tell you. I've kept a very small number. I've got a shelf back here with about 30 titles on it that I have winnowed down over the years, over the decades of acquiring books and moving from house to house and apartment to apartment or whatever. I've gradually winnowed that list down to just maybe like 30 essentials, and maybe at some point I'll share it, but like that's really personal to me, the titles that I've kept, and for all the reasons that I've kept. But there are 3 books that I would highly recommend any writer check out, whether you are writing for publication, you're writing for yourself, you're writing tabletop RPGs, you're writing fiction, nonfiction, whatever. I think these 3 books have been my absolute go-tos for as long as I can remember, for as long as I've discovered them, or not discovered them, but or was introduced to them or whatever. So I'm going to share those. And, I'm not doing this to promote anybody in particular. These are just fantastic resources that I've found over the years that I want to share with you, because I think these are like these three books are like the bedrock of everything that I do writing wise. I'm always constantly referring to these three books, or previous versions of these books, and I'll explain that in just a second. First one is Self-Editing for Fiction Writers by Rennie Brown, Dave King. This is the revised edition. Let me see if I can put that up on the. This is the paperback, of course. I think there's an ebook. There's an earlier version of this. I don't think there's a more recent version of this. It's about 20 years old. I'm willing to bet your library has a copy of it. Anyway, Self-Editing for Fiction Writers. This is, let me emphasize, every writer needs an editor. Every editor needs a proofreader. Every writer needs an editor. I can't say that enough. But before you send your stuff to an editor, you should be self-editing it. You should be going through it and at least making it clean. It's hard because I'm an editor as well as a writer, but the cleaner you can make your document before you send it to an editor, the easier the whole process is going to be. Don't rely on your editor to fix all your stuff, right? Like, don't just vomit stuff onto a page and then send it to an editor. If that's your style and that's your why, okay, fine. Okay, fine. But in general, like, take pride in your work, right? And try to at least make it clean. Make your manuscript clean before you send it off to an editor. And in order to do that, self-editing. This book, and one of the things I love about this book is that every chapter talks about a specific thing, right? Whether it's see how it sounds, interior monologues, the different story beats, breaking up things, characterization, exposition, etc., point of view, etc. All these different topics. Each chapter has a checklist at the end of the chapter that goes into detail. Right, you're not going to be able to see that super well, but it goes into very specific detail of things that you can be doing to thinking about that specific tone or that specific topic. And so, as you're working through your manuscript, once you've gotten once you got the draft down, and it's in a complete form, right? You've got A to Z, you get the whole story in front of you. Then you start the editing process. These checklists, I can't tell you how many times I've referenced these checklists and have found them incredibly valuable every single time. So this is a small book too. This is only like 200 something pages. But yeah, I'd highly recommend. I mean, this is like, even of the three books I'm going to talk about, this is the number one, top of my stack. I've always got this one on hand. So please consider it, and please check it out. There might be a better book that you like better for self-editing, but that one, no doubt, it has been my go-to for as long as I can remember. So let me write this down. Oh, I got the wrong window open. Let me move that there. So, self-editing for fiction writers. And honestly, a lot of the advice in here, absolutely applicable to nonfiction writers as well. You'd probably need a different book for that. I don't write nonfiction myself, other than tabletop RPGs. Yeah, anyway, so it's still valuable, and the writers are Brown and King. Find it everywhere. Okay, second one. This one is really relevant more for publishing as a business. So if you are indie publishing, or if you are publishing for traditional publishing, I mean, really, honestly, this is useful for anybody getting into the publishing world as a business. The most important thing, absolutely the most important thing, next to just writing, is copyright. And the NOLO Copyright Handbook by NOLO Press, NOLO, the Copyright Handbook, is going to be your Bible for all things copyright. Copyright is, copyright is a lifestyle, and you need to understand copyright in order to be a writer and a publisher. And the more you can understand and learn, the better off you're going to be, even if you hire a publishing attorney or a literary agent, or you get a literary agent or a publisher or a publishing editor, like whatever. You as running your business, you need to understand copyright. And now this is like a 300 and something page book. Actually, it's almost 400 pages. Copyright law in the United States and around the world changes frequently. Copyright law in the world is different country to country, which is potentially a big pain in the butt. But especially for us Americans, this is a great starting point. And there's a huge amount of information in here, so you can't possibly absorb all this in like one reading. I would say take it, chapter by chapter, chunk by chunk, spend a little time with it, but it's really, really super important. Like, I can't emphasize this enough. It's because I still don't know it all, but it's super important to understand copyright and what you can do with it and what you can't do with it, and the value of the incredible value of it, because ultimately when you write something, you have the copyright to it. You're not selling the work to somebody. You're selling a license to use your stuff. That's copyright is tied into all of that. So again, I can't. And this book has gone through multiple editions. I think this is the 14th edition. I think there's a more recent edition, but absolutely do your best to stay on top of it. So this is the copyright handbook by Nolo Press. There might be other ones out there. There might be better ones out there, but I have not found a better one, other than the United States Copyright Office website, which again changes frequently, and changes under different administrations. So if you're not in love with our current administration, then you might want to look at other resources for copyright. But yeah, these two books, Self-Editing for Fiction Writers, Copyright Handbook, absolute top two go-tos. You will never go wrong by reading these and applying what you learn to your writing and publishing business, whatever format that looks like. All right, the third book that I think every writer should at least be passingly familiar with. I can't expect any writer to know everything that's in here. This is really more oriented for editors and proofreaders, but honestly, as a writer, the more of this you understand, or at least are familiar with, the easier your conversations are going to be with editors and proofreaders, right? Because like I said, every writer needs an editor, every editor needs a proofreader. If you at least understand the language, right, or the terminology, or the if you just understand the basics, it's going to make everything easier. So like when you send a manuscript off for an editor and the editor starts going on and on about something specific, instead of you just going, I have no idea what you're talking about, so sure, go for it. If you at least have a grounding, or at least a basic understanding of what they're talking about, then it's going to make everything easier. Same thing with proofreaders. But anyway, absolutely worthwhile for you to check out the Chicago Manual of Style. This is really more oriented for editors and proofreaders, especially because this is a gigantic, like this is the most recent edition. This is what, 1,200 pages. Like, no writer is going to take this and say, no one's going to tell you to go learn this and then go write. Right? Forget that. But especially for publication, like if you want to really get into everything about the business, this is worth checking out. Again, at least just to be familiar with it. Editors, have a copy of this on their desk more often than not. Proofreaders, certainly. There is an online version that you can access. There's a print version you can access, whatever your preferences are. Super useful. There's a lot of great information in here. And again, this is the type of book where you want to take it, bit by bit, section by section, a little bit at a time. For those of you who are still working on paper, like if you're printing off your story and your handwriting notes, or your editors or proofreaders are handwriting notes into it, like all the proofreader marks, all the classic traditional proofreader marks are in here, and easy to look at. Again, it's not as common as it used to be, but there's just so much great information in here. This is updated fairly regularly. Good English writing doesn't really go out of style that much, so this just happens to be the most recent edition. You could probably find an older edition at a used bookstore or your library, and you could probably still learn a ton just by flipping through it and reading it. That one is like next tier down from Self-Editing in the Copyright Handbook, but let me write down the Chicago Manual of Style, and I'm going to put in latest edition to future-proof this. It's currently current is 18. I think they're working on 19, and also online. So those are the books. Those are my three big ones: Self-Editing for Fiction Writers, the Copyright Handbook, the Chicago Manual of Style. If you could only pick two, do the first two. If you are a lifelong learner and you want to learn more about the business, about especially getting into the weeds, CMOS is the place to be. If you're not an editor or a proofreader, I would avoid some of the online conversation and some of the online forums about the CMOS, because you get your career editors and proofreaders into a room, and we're going to debate all the little nuances and picayune changes. CMOS, they send a regular update. I can't remember if it's monthly or quarterly, but they'll send out an update saying, "Oh, here's some things that we've updated with our style." And some editors get really picky about some of those changes. I mean, it's just like any other industry or business. We get picky about the changes that are made, and we debate them, right? Anyway, so for what it's worth, so those are the books I'd recommend. So read lots. Check out Writer's Digest. Their library of books is just amazing. Over, I don't know, 30, 40 years or something. You'll find a lot at libraries. You'll find a lot at used bookstores. You'll find certainly plenty of stuff online in ebook and print format. They have tons and tons of great topics. So like how to write this, how to write that, writing historical fiction, writing fantasy, writing mysteries. All kinds of great writers have contributed to that over the years. So do check out Writer's Digest library of books. And then the 3 specific titles that I recommended, they're all there on the screen. You can see them. I don't have to go into more details. All right, so let's move on to websites. So, of course, this is a digital world. When I got started, there was no digital world as such, so that's dating me a little bit. But as time has gone on, there are some great resources out there. Again, this isn't a list that's by no means exhaustive. This is the list that I just happen to use. And part of that is me filtering that through a funnel over the years and kind of winnowing out the ones that are not so useful to me compared to the ones that are useful to me now and that I'm using a lot, right? So, I should have added another category here, and that's magazines. Let me do this here real quick. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do, where's my bullet? There it is. Magazines. There's a couple magazines that you should check out, certainly. And when I say magazines, of course, in this digital age, there's a magazine and there's also a web version, right? So top of the list for me, maybe not for you, Publishers Weekly. And do I have my most recent copy here? I had it here somewhere. There it is. Ugh. Sorry. Publishers Weekly. It is a weekly, or very, very rarely, it's a every 2 weeks. Publishers Weekly. This has been around for a long, long time. Publishers Weekly is a great. It's a great magazine to get a weekly insight into the publishing industry at kind of a certain level, and then Publishers Weekly is amazing. For its book reviews, fiction, nonfiction, children's books, etc. Every week they review maybe 50 or 60 different books, maybe 70 books, and I find those book reviews really useful to look at what I'm going to read next. So Publishers Weekly, there's a print version, there's a website, tons of articles on the website, all oriented toward the publishing business, traditional publishing. They have in recent years added a self-publishing, indie publishing component to it, and just as far as I can tell, my opinion, I think the reviews that they put in here for indie books are all paid reviews. So take that with a appropriate warning that I think writers are paying Publishers Weekly to review their stuff, and then the reviews get put into the magazine. If that's wrong, certainly tell me. Drop a comment below. And I honestly don't know, because I haven't done my research. I don't know if traditional publishers are paying them to review their books. Maybe they are. I don't know. Probably they are. Actually, it's all advertising in one form or another, right? But I have found Publishers Weekly to be very useful over the years. You can pay for a subscription. You can find copies at your library, almost certainly, because librarians read this to find their next books to put into the library. A lot of libraries just have a subscription that you can read, you can check out and read as you do. But yeah, Publishers Weekly, top of my list. A couple other ones to check out is Poets and Writers. I was subscribing to that for a long time, then I got away from it. but now I'm subscribing to it again. Magazine website, lots of resources there. Poets and Writers especially is really good if you are looking to submit to contests. There's contests all around the country, all around the world, and every issue that I've gotten for Poets and Writers has just a big chunk of pages that are devoted to where to submit them to. A lot of advertisements too. I mean, obviously, advertising drives print publications, but the last handful of issues have been full of universities promoting their residency programs for MFAs and other forms of writing. Not to say that's bad or good, it just is. It's just that I've noticed a lot of advertising in Poets and Writers, especially recently. So depending on what your why is and why you're publishing, it might be really useful for you to see what contests are out there, what programs are out there, and what the residencies are out there. A lot of good articles and advice in there too, so worth checking out. Next one is, of course, going similar to books, is Writer's Digest. I am not currently subscribing to WD, although I'm thinking about getting back into it. Depending on how you're running your writing thing, it could be a business. It could be, all this stuff could be business expenses, depending on how you're doing your taxes and you're doing your publishing or whatever. So you may be paying for the subscriptions, but you may get that as a tax break. I'm not a tax attorney, so don't rely on my advice. Go talk to somebody. So Writer's Digest, tons of articles, tons of information about the writing life, lots of ads, lots of things to consider, and often they take those articles from Writer's Digest and those get pulled into books, right? They get collected into books. Again, if you look at the Writer's Digest stack of books in their library, you'll find a lot of them were articles at one point in a previous issue of Writer's Digest. So yeah, check that out. Again, you can probably get that at your library, or you can certainly find no shortage of Writer's Digest books, right, at your library. And then the other one that I would recommend is the New York Review of Books. This is again a website and also a subscription. The subscription is printed on newspaper type of paper print, and it's a big, huge. I don't have the latest one handy. It's a big, chunky publication. I find it slightly less valuable than the other ones, but it's worth reading from a different perspective. So it's worth checking out. I think of all the magazines, I'd recommend PW and WD, Writer's Digest, more than anything else. But again, depends on what you're targeting. If you have any magazines that you'd like to subscribe to that's related to the writing universe, certainly drop them down below and share them. But let's move on to websites. I think websites, Publishers Weekly. Publishers Weekly, I think it's pw.com might be the right one, but maybe not. Poets and Writers has a website. Writer's Digest, of course, has a website. So Poets and Writers, Writer's Digest. If I can type, there we go. Then the other one I would recommend, especially, this is more specifically for those of you who are pursuing traditional publishing or hybrid publishing, but you're looking toward getting agents, editors, publishers. You want to be well informed about the traditional publishing business, especially with like mergers, acquisitions, deals, agents, etc. If you're looking for jobs in the traditional publishing business, this is pretty good. Check out Publishers Marketplace. Publishers Marketplace is a subscription service. And last I checked, it was like $30 a month, plus, although they had some deals or something. So this is certainly a business expense that you would want to consider. This is going to give you the really day-to-day latest information about the publishing industry, any new deals that are coming through, any editors or agents as they move from agency to agency or create their own agency, any mergers or acquisitions, how sales are doing on a general basis, like how is the market healthy, unhealthy, etc. And jobs, like if you're looking for a job in traditional publishing, this is a really good place to go. I was a subscriber for a long time. I'm not currently a subscriber partly because I'm not really focused on traditional publishing, and I feel like I'm getting enough information from Publishers Weekly, my subscription to PW, that I'm not focused on Publishers Marketplace so much. That might change. I think as I continue my hybrid slash trad pub indie pub marketing or career, I might lean back toward traditional publishing a little bit, and I might want to get more informed about what the current situation is now as opposed to the broader perspective. But there's just a wealth of information on the website that's worth checking out. And Publishers Marketplace has a free newsletter called Publishers Lunch that you can go to the website and sign up for, and it emails you every week. That's kind of a light it's a very light version of Publishers Marketplace. It'll give you some information, not a huge amount of information, but it might give you some information just to give you enough to okay, I'm kind of informed and I'm kind of on the wavelength of what's happening. Yeah, so as far as websites go for me managing my career and business, PW, Writer's Digest, Publishers Marketplace, these are all the primary go-tos. If you've got other ones that you want to recommend, by all means drop them down. I'm thinking broad, like publishing career type stuff as opposed to like specific niches. Other resources, let's just jump in here because we've been at this for half an hour. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Other useful resources that I have found, of course, other writers, but let's talk about specific type of stuff here. Whoops, I'm choking on my. There we go. Let me try this again here. Sorry for the delay. There we go. All right. There's a couple Facebook groups that I would recommend checking out. Again, depending on your why and depending on what you're looking to accomplish. Especially if you're indie publishing, actually specifically if you're indie publishing, these are two sites you should be looking at. Successful Indie Writer, and also do a search for Craig Martell, who has just a wealth of information. He does a daily video, like 5 minutes on specific topics, really worth checking out. Successful Indie Author, not Writer, SIA, Successful Indie Author, SIA. It's a Facebook group, and it's also his YouTube channel that he posts all the YouTube channels. There are a lot of writers on SIA in the Facebook group. So and this is no slight on the group, it's just an observation. There are so many writers in there at so many different levels of publishing that the signal to noise ratio on Facebook can be significant. So you need to kind of be careful of that. And of course, the other challenge is whether this is true or not. My perception is that Facebook doesn't always show you all the new posts or all the frequent posts in your feed. So there's probably plenty of information that has been posted to SIA that just I've missed because of the algorithms and the way Facebook works. So, just this is true for any Facebook group, right? So just, be aware that there's a ton of great resources on that Facebook group, but it's a Facebook group. So, see as you feel it. Second Facebook group is 20 to 50K. This was created by Michael Anderle. You can and et al. You can look him up on Google or your favorite search engine. Michael Anderle, 20 to 50K writing. The theory there is it takes you publishing 20 books in order to make 50K a year. At varying levels of ability, right? I mean, some writers do it, some writers don't do it. There's a whole philosophy built into 20 to 50K that may or may not agree with you, again, based on your why and what you're doing. But that's a Facebook group that has tons and tons of writers at all varying levels of ability and career and progress and everything. But still a wealth of information for you to sit back and sift and read and absorb, right? So again, if you're a lifelong learner and you're looking to learn more about the publishing industry, especially self-publishing or indie publishing. SIA and 20 to 50K are good resources, if only to look at stuff and just start picking and choosing what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Neither of them are going to give you the surefire method of success, because success is entirely up to you. Like you define your own level of success, and that's probably a separate video that we'll get to at some point. It's like, not only do you have to figure out why you're doing what you're doing, but what is your definition of success? Because my definition of success may not match yours, and it certainly won't match somebody else's, right? So we'll get into that in a separate conversation. So let's see. As far as writing resources go, you got your books, you got your magazines, you got your websites, you got other. Is there anything else I want to share? Thinking we've been at this for 35 minutes. Let's talk very, very, very briefly about software. Nah, do I really want to get into this? There's so many schools of thought on software. You know, I'm just going to throw a couple thoughts in here. Obviously, I'm using Scrivener as a word processor. Of course, there's Word. There's the Google Suite. I'm not going to tell you which is better, because that's going to be very individual. Use what works for you. Like, whatever you need to get words down and to make your writing happen, that's the best thing for you. I really like Scrivener. I like Word for certain purposes. I'm not a fan of it, but it does what it needs to do, and I can make it do what I need it to do. Google Suites is effective for certain things, and it does what I need it to do for most things. Scrivener, I really appreciate Scrivener's ability to get words down, and I really love Scrivener's corkboard feature and the way it manages files and folders, and how you can create a folder and just put literally anything into that folder, whether it's a picture, a website, a video, just like all kinds of stuff, and you can have it in that one Scrivener file as opposed to 50 million folders on your computer, right? So Scrivener's for me, and then Vellum. You might want to check out Vellum, especially if you're indie publishing. Vellum is great. It's Mac only at the moment, and I know that's a factor for some people who are still using PCs or neither PC or Mac, like whatever. There's other software out there, absolutely. These are just the two that I'm familiar with. I'm not going to necessarily recommend them for anybody else because that's a really personal decision. But I thought I'd throw them up there as references. But I think these references are pretty solid. I think even just a couple of the books, websites, and then you're going to be off and running. So these are just resources that I've used that I'm recommending you check out. Yeah, I'm going to call it there because it's 38 minutes. I think I've used up enough of your time. But hey, if you are a writer at whatever stage of writing you are in, maybe you're brand new, mid-career, post-career, like whatever. If you got some really useful resources that you've enjoyed and that you find value in, drop them below and share them. Let's talk about it. And I'm sure I'll do other videos on writer resources over time. Publish or editing and proofreading resources are a little different, so I might do a separate video on that at some point. But let me know what you're thinking about the content. Let me know what you're thinking about the information here. Do share. Tell me what you're thinking. Drop it down below. And yeah, thanks so much for your time, everybody. I hope this was useful. I hope this was helpful. Let me know. Have fun. Be well. And I'm sure I'll talk to you next time.